Nature journaling for beginners is not always easy, but in this conversation I talk with Heather Crellin, who's been nature journaling for less than a year, and even though she's a nature journaling beginner, she has already been posting tons of pages on the Nature Journal Club Facebook page, making beautiful pages, connecting with community, and in this conversation she has so many tips, tricks, and insights that will help anyone who's getting started with nature journaling. She talks about how to nature journal with your spouse or family, how to stay motivated, how to make it a routine, and how you can make great nature journal pages in only 10 minutes a day. Coming up. Hi Heather, how's it going?
Hi, it's going great. How are you?
Good. I am really looking forward to talking to you because you're relatively new to nature journaling, but you seem to be posting a lot on the Nature Journal Club Facebook page, and a couple people recommended that I interview you. So I think it's really useful for a lot of people to get the perspective of a relative beginner. So could you share a little bit about how you got started with nature journaling?
Yeah, I'd love to. Last year, about June, I went to, and bear with me, I went to an Asian art lecture.
Hmm.
And when I got there, it was going to be late, and I was just going to slip in the back because it's dark and those kinds of things. And it wasn't. It was bright, and everyone had paint brushes, and they were smiling at me. And I realized it was a class. And I was too chicken to walk out because they were all smiling and waving. And that was the first time for me that I had done art, since like my crayon stage. And
Hmm.
I had never had any art classes. And so that was just such a real gift to me that the teacher was there and that she encouraged me. And I still take classes with her. So I still do Asian art, but that kind of just unlocked.
Hmm.
So then I wanted to draw everything. And so, I was drawing the chair and the car and the cat and I volunteered at the zoo. So I my favorite aviary has terns and toucans, and so that was how I found John Muir Lost Jack Laws on YouTube,
Hmm.
and just started taking all those classes, and you pick up stuff. And at that point in time, I still didn't think of myself as a nature journaler.
Hmm.
I was not even on Facebook till April.
Hmm.
And so I was just doing a lot of plein air art, and so I'm interested in nature because I volunteer as a whale watcher, and I was at the
Hmm.
zoo. And so then when COVID came, all of the outdoor stuff kind of shut down,
Hmm.
and the nature journaling community just really stepped forward.
Hmm.
So there were so many people, like Christine Elder. She did 50 classes. And
Whoa.
so, every day I would log on, 5 days a week, because it was a smiling face, and we drew and we learned about animals. And then Jack started teaching classes, and then Roseanne Hanson started taking us on
Hmm.
safaris. And then I started doing nature journaling clubs. So, Melinda, I would say I'm not a very good nature journaler. I'm not a good drawer. And Melinda's voice now comes in my head going, yet. You're not a good nature journaler yet. And Brian, I'm a member of the Great Valley Nature Journal Club, and he has just so many words of wisdom. And he would say things, and I would get excited about it. And so it was kind of after COVID that I really got into nature journaling, and it was really because of the community. There's
Hmm.
so many people, and then Avea, I do like pencil miles, and she's there to
Hmm.
to talk about stuff and to get excited about stuff and bounce ideas.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I think that was kind of how I came through things.
That is real. That is a really cool story. So, the Asian art class, that was in. Did you say that was in the fall?
Yeah, so that was last year. In fact, I call it my artiversary. It
Hmm.
was June 26th. I still have that little painting of the butterfly that I did,
Uh-huh.
and that was the first time I'd ever drawn anything. And I like art, but it never dawned on me that
Hmm.
I could paint. And
Hmm.
then when I joined a plein air group, I'm doing stick figures, and these are professional artists, but
Hmm.
they called me an artist, and I'm like,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so that's kind of where I started. And
Okay.
I've only been doing art for a year, so that's
Uh-huh. That's really cool. And so it sounds like something really clicked for you all of a sudden. So why do you think that clicked for you and maybe wouldn't for other people?
I think you kind of find something that means something to you. So I took piano lessons because I thought that was going to be the thing. I love music, and I took piano lessons for several years and made so many good friends, but I didn't practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go to class and meet up with my friends, and it just wasn't my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So some people it's music, and some people it's it's poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think another thing is I was seeking a way to connect with nature, and uh, today our world is so busy. And someone not too long ago said they thought busy was a state of mind, and that really just went. I was like, busy. That is just so true, and so I think I wanted nature journaling as a way to be mindful, to stop and to look at the world. And if you're drawing something, you're looking at it and you're really seeing, and I'm not thinking about, these things that I need to do, or my last email, or there's so many things that pick at our attention that we're not in the moment. When we're walking, we're thinking about what comes next. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I wanted a way to be present and to practice seeing the world.
Hmm. Wow, that's really powerful. Um, so that answers my other question was going to be why did you start nature journaling? But I feel like you've answered that. So one of the other things that I was curious about is uh, it seems like you said that you got on the Nature Journal Club Facebook page sometime in April, and it seems like you started sharing pretty soon. So why do you think you started sharing so soon when it seems like I think the group has like 15,000 people in it now, but it seems like probably less than 500 are sharing. So how did you start sharing so soon?
I think a part of that is that have spent a long time in well, not long time, I've only been drawing for a year, but the groups I was in, the plein air group that I'm in and the Asian art group that I'm in, there's people who are in that group who have been artists who are professional artists, who
Hmm.
sell their work and, who are nationally known.
Hmm.
So I had to kind of get over that really fast, being able to share. And so I think I'm also a really chatty person, and I like to be able to connect.
Hmm.
And so when COVID happened, there was nobody to talk to,
Hmm.
and or to interact with. So
Hmm.
I really wanted some feeling of community,
Hmm.
because my planar group wasn't meeting, and my Asian art group wasn't meeting, and
Hmm.
so I wanted that community.
Hmm.
Um,
Wow, that's such an amazing thing to get from nature journaling because I think a lot of us start with nature journaling, or when we think about it, we're thinking about nature and we're thinking about art and the learning and the all of that. But it's amazing to hear how important the community aspect was, even when you're not able to go to like physical field trips. So that's pretty cool. And I agree with you. It was amazing how people stepped up with coronavirus and just like how Jack started putting out tons of stuff. And like you said, Christine Elder, everybody was just doing, and Melinda, it's like incredible what some of these people um, how their things even grew more. The communities grew even more despite the coronavirus and quarantine and all of that. So that's pretty amazing. So it sounds like you get a lot of internal encouragement and motivation, but you also are really motivated by the community aspect. Um, what about your family? How do you feel like what role has your family played or not played in motivating your art journey?
So my husband is very supportive. He thinks I'm really cool. And when you asked me to interview, I think I just kept saying I can't understand why he would want to talk to me. I'm not that interesting. And my husband just said, don't start with that. And so he is very supportive. So when we go out, if I want to take a little extra time to write things down, or if um, where we live in a little tiny condo, and so I think I was very affected in the beginning. And I don't have any outdoor space. I don't have a patio. I don't have a yard, and everyone would just say, "Oh, I went into my garden."
Hmm.
And so I just really felt that because, I don't have a garden. I don't have any of that stuff. So we
Hmm.
do have, and I was thinking as I went through my journals that I have a sit spot. And
Hmm.
so I have a spot on Shelter Island. It's a parking spot, and we go out there and sit, and we've been doing it for years. And so we go and read, and I draw, and I paint, and then I look at the birds, and I look for the sea lions, and so I do kind of have a sit spot. So he goes with me to these places, and he does, and he's very supportive, but he does not nature journal. It is interesting to me though that when I first started all of this, I really thought the whole questioning thing and the nature mindset thing was a little bit bunk. So
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, I'm interested in the art. Tell me more about how you draw a penguin.
Hmm.
But when Jack would be like, and this is how we look at a bird, and these are the questions, and so I started asking questions. So when we go to the beach, I'm looking at things. I'm saying, how, where do these animals go, or what do I see here, or I haven't seen
Hmm.
this, and so my husband has started doing that too.
Uh-huh.
Like we're walking along the beach one day, and he's like, I wonder where the pelicans go. They're not
Uh-huh.
as many here. Do they stay here year round? And I was like,
Nice job.
so there is something to that whole
Yeah.
questioning thing, and the whole, once you start your mind asking things, and all of a sudden it just snowballs. You've got all of these things that you wonder, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's really enriching.
Cool. That is such a great story. I love that. Um, I'm always really curious about people's relationships and spouses and families, and who nature journals and who doesn't, and how that can be like mutually supporting, or it can sometimes be feel challenging. I know there's a lot of people who feel like they're unable to nature journal as much as they would like to, because, and this is a lot of times with moms and women usually, who have a feeling that they have like this responsibility to their spouse or to their family, that is that it almost feels like disloyal to take some time off to nature journal, or that I also know a lot of people where one of the uh, like maybe the spouse is into mountain biking or something that is maybe a little bit more fast paced than the person who's interested in nature journaling, and then the nature journaler a lot of times feels like they can't slow down enough. So what recommendations would you give for people who feel like they're in a position where their spouse isn't really as encouraging as your husband is? Like, how could people who feel like they're not being as supported, how can they find a way to nature journal more?
Okay, so there's a couple things to that. One is that journaling is a priority. So, in terms of taking care of yourself, I think of my journal as my me time. So, it's like, when I'm cooking dinner and I have the glass of wine as I'm cooking, and that's just
Hmm.
this decadent thing that I do for myself. So, that is what journaling is to me.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is that I keep my journaling bag. This is my purse. It's with me all the time, and I always have. This is my. This, I'm not good with
Hmm.
these things. This is my journaling kit. Everything's in
Yeah.
there, and then my journal,
Hmm.
and so it's always with me.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is, so I think that you fit it in.
Hmm.
So there's different ways you can do that. So it's you kind of have to figure out like what your if you have 10 minutes or 20 minutes, then that's what you have, and that's
Hmm.
fine. And so I have days where, my nature journal, and I keep an illustrated journal. So what I write in my journal is really, it's my day. And it might be that
Hmm.
I saw an osprey, or it might be that, we went snorkeling. And if it's only a sentence, then it's a sentence. And some weeks,
Yeah.
one page is a whole week. And then other weeks,
Yeah.
I go through the pages. So that's another thing. And then I think if you can figure out your daily nature. So there's nature with the big N, and that's like, the
Hmm.
trip to the beach and the
Hmm.
trip to the local park. But in your house, you might be able to look at the moon or the stars, and I've done all of these things. Or
Hmm.
from your window, see how the clouds change over the course of a couple of hours, or
Hmm.
paint sunset, or look at plants, or draw your cat, or you might have nature treasures.
Hmm.
And then the other one is, have a sit spot. Maybe you just have somewhere where you can go for your coffee cup, but you're gonna have those little bits of time.
Yeah.
And it's that time when you would have been checking your email, or
Hmm.
and that's what you take. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just, mentally noting what you see, typing it down on your phone, and wondering about it later.
Yeah, that's so cool. Do you have any examples of your well, that I think that will be really helpful for people who are in that situation, trying to find time and balance with their family. Do you have any examples of your 10-minute things that you've done in a 10-minute chunk?
I do. This is over the course of time. I mean,
Hmm.
this is a couple of days. This is
Yeah.
one day's sunset. This is another day's sunset.
So
This
you're doing
is
those in 10 minutes, really?
Oh yeah, the sunsets, absolutely.
Okay.
So the sunset, that's
Wow.
just a quick. I go out, I paint
Hmm.
it. I may not even, write up all the stuff about it, but yeah, these little just landscapitos, you can do those really quick. And then, even moving on, here was maybe a little bit longer, but certainly
Hmm.
not much more.
Okay.
And so, this was a day, and then sometimes, you don't get a chance to go outside. So maybe you
Hmm.
just read an article about a frog they thought was extinct, and it turned out he wasn't. And so I was
Cool.
excited, and so I painted the frog. So
So basically 10 minutes, if 10 minutes is a totally doable amount of time to nature journal.
absolutely.
Yeah. And
And
everyone can make 10 minutes.
then let me show you one more, because there's all kinds of different ideas. So this is this wasn't even minutes. This was oh, nope. Okay, okay. So this was seconds. I
Hmm.
was, just looking outside. I wanted to. We were doing a nature journal on clouds, and so
Hmm.
I wanted to see what happened with the clouds over the course of the day. So,
Hmm.
I just followed the course of the clouds for the day.
Yeah.
And then, here's a okay, you see a strip of colors going down. That was sunset. So that was,
Hmm.
me painting the colors of the sunset. And then,
Right.
here was another little short one. I can't do this. Okay, there's a sailboat, and on the sailboat, the colors of the sunset were changing so fast that I wrote notes on
Mm-hmm.
what the colors were. So it was quinacridone pink, or potter's pink, or
Hmm.
so yes, so absolutely, you certainly can do. And if you can't go outside, you can nature journal. I'm horrible at this. You can nature journal from the TV. The fish is something that that's a webcam.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a little longer and you just sit down and you watch the webcam, and,
Mhm.
you know, and all of that is nature journaling.
Yeah, that's really awesome and motivating, I think, for and encouraging for people. So, when you sit down or decide that you're going to, so it seems like from what you just said, nobody has an excuse not to make time for nature journaling. So, because 10 minutes is enough. But what is going on in your mind when you like initiate a nature journaling session? Like, do you have like intention when you sit down and start, or do you always start at the same time of day, or how does your 10-minute session, for example, how does that start?
Okay, so on JP's talk, she talked about having an intention, and I thought, oh, I never have an intention. But then I
Mm-hmm,
realized in the structure of our week, we do things at a certain time. So
mm-hmm,
another thing that I would suggest is if you have a little bit more time, and I think this is really important, I go for walks. And so, everybody works from home now, so 20 minutes, 20 minutes during lunchtime and
mm-hmm,
20 minutes in the morning. And it's the
mm-hmm,
same route that we walk. And so that's a lot of things. One, it gets you into community, so we know our neighbors
mm-hmm,
and we really get to know the neighborhood.
mm-hmm,
And so, I know the house where the butterflies are, and I
mm-hmm,
know there's another house that has a pond and they've got dragonflies, and
mm-hmm.
I'm looking up and I'm seeing the birds and I'm noticing them. But so those times that are structured in,
Yeah.
so that's something that really kind of, and then during the week we go a couple of times a week to the beach, and
Mm-hmm,
so that's just part of our routine.
mm-hmm,
Tuesdays we go to the beach. We've actually replaced our Thursday. We were going Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. But so if you have something that's, the other thing is, everybody eats, they watch TV right after they eat. Well,
mm-hmm,
instead of doing that, go to your sit spot and go,
mm-hmm,
read and look at the harbor. And that's what we do.
mm-hmm,
But we do things on a schedule. We like routine, so that kind of gets you into
mm-hmm.
another thing that I just started recently because I was really inspired by Kate Rudder's Little Pit, which is
Yeah.
anybody watching this has not read her stuff. It's just amazing because I was like avocado because I saw it on
I know.
Facebook and I didn't actually even look at it till she said I've been doing this for 100 days, and so when I saw
Yeah.
that I was like, and I thought, how do you talk about, that for, and I read it and I was so inspired. So what I did was, and I just ended this, but I did looking at a corpse plant. They had it
Oh
online
yeah,
feed.
that's right. Yeah, I
And
saw that.
so this got me daily in the habit of every day, and I knew exactly what I was going to write on. And my husband really got me tired of me talking about it. But, I knew what I was going to talk about. So
That's huge.
you can, and that really helps. It helps cement my practice, but it also
Mm-hmm.
was like every day I knew exactly what I was going to nature
Mm-hmm.
journal on. So you figure out what works for you, and you try everything because there's just so many ideas out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you might have a routine, or you might daily journal on a plant or your cat or your
Mm-hmm.
goldfish or your mantis.
Mm-hmm.
And so those kinds of things are what helps make it work. I think also if you tie it into stuff you like. So I
Mm-hmm.
haven't figured out how to work it, but the kayaking, I like to kayak. I like to,
Mm-hmm.
I have been nature journaling on our snorkeling. We go snorkeling, and so we went
That's so cool.
I nature journaled on it, and then I go biking,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, I've been bird watching, whatever those kind of things that you like to do, then
Mm-hmm.
fit that in. Nature
Yeah.
that's part of your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I call that like a piggyback habit strategy where it's like you're already sitting and drinking coffee or whatever every morning at a certain time. Like, is there another habit that you could just piggyback are on, and that makes it so much easier. Wow, that was a lot of really cool, practical little tidbits in that piece. Um, okay, so the next thing I wanted to ask you about, because this all sounds so great and so easy, like what have been some of your major challenges or difficult moments with your getting started in nature journaling?
Challenges. In the beginning, it was a viewpoint. Sometimes it's how you look at things. A lot of people in the nature journal were like, I went out in my garden or I did this.
Mm,
We don't have any plants in the house because my cats will eat them, and we don't
mm,
have any outdoor space. So I really rebelled against that. I'm like,
mm,
I don't have any of this stuff. So that's, I think,
mm,
why I got interested in the sky and in the clouds and in
mm,
So I really went on this whole tangent of what can you do if you don't have? And then I thought about it, and I do have spots where I go and I do have things that I do. And so
Mhm.
figuring that out. So I think figuring out your nature, and your nature is going to be different than my nature.
Mhm. Mhm.
But that was kind of a big one. And then also,
Mhm.
it is. I think Jack has talked about it, but like Facebook, the way it's set up, it makes you want those likes, and
Mhm.
so it really trains you. And it's
Mhm.
hard to put stuff on there when you're new, and there's some really accomplished, really talented artists in there, and
Mhm.
I may put something up and it may get just lost and 12 people like it or something.
Mhm.
So that's tough. It's something that's difficult
Yeah.
to so kind of the thing that I've done with that, and I talked to Liz Steele, who's she's a blogger that I like a whole lot.
Mm.
So I asked her, and she said, "Well, you have to decide why you're putting stuff out there." And I thought, well, I'm
Mhm.
putting stuff out there because I want to share, and I also put stuff out there because I want to get a message out. Like
Mhm.
I'm big into conservation, and I'm big into ecology and whatever you can do to give back. And so if I can share a message of something that's easy to do, like for the butterflies putting milkweed out, or
Mhm.
for the corpse plant not eating palm oil, to help
Mhm.
things. So that was, that's one of my reasons. And another reason is to share. And so I've started sharing more of this of my daily journals on the Great Valley Nature site
Mhm.
because it's a smaller site. And so for
Oh,
me,
interesting.
the likes, there's a whole lot less likes, but
Mhm.
it's friends and it's people I know, so that's sharing. And then the Nature Journal website, I put more stuff out there if I think it's just like this cool idea and everybody's gonna love it. Like I put
Mhm.
the whole corpse plant journaling thing just because I thought it
Yeah,
would be
people love that one.
um, and so that's kind of how that was another big thing because it's hard to start.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge for a lot of people. But I like your idea. It's a really interesting idea that the current ecosystem, online ecosystem allows for is that I like that idea of posting like your daily nature journal pages on the small group and then like that intentionality around like how you post or what the benefits are of a smaller group versus a larger group. So that's really interesting. And I did definitely see your corpse plant journal pages and thought that was really cool. And it seemed like people were really interested. And I liked how you in the page you talked about the meaning or the responsibility piece, which I think is something that a lot of times we forget, especially when we're looking at something that's from so far away, is that we're implicated as citizens of this planet. We're implicated in these relationships with corpse plants that are in Indonesia. So that's really cool. Um, let's see. So I wanted to ask a little bit more about the that corpse plant idea. Like it seems like what you did was you made it so that initiating a nature journal session didn't require you to decide what you were going to nature journal on because you just chose this plant. Can you give like, are there other examples you can think of that are ways that people could, because that seems like that can be a major obstacle and take some mental energy. It's coming up with like, what am I going to nature journal today? Can you think of any other ways that people could get over that?
Yeah, there's lots. So, one would be the idea that you just look at the clouds, or you look at the sunset, or you look at something that it's accessible. In my journals, I have tons of pictures where I've just drawn the cat.
Mhm.
Or let's see, what are some of the other things? The night sky, what is your relationship to the moon? Do you really notice it? And then other things are, when you go out for a walk, what are the birds that you hear? What's the tide like? What's the wind like?
Mhm.
So in terms of daily stuff, just pick a thing. Pick
Mhm.
you want to look at the clouds, or you want, and all of these are done. So I'm not
Mhm.
just saying go out and do. I did. Jack said something a while back, which probably you remember, but it was something about love being attention, and
Mm-hmm.
so sustained attention. And so
Mm-hmm.
he said, if you go out and look at something for a week. So I went out and looked at the moon. I looked at it every day, and I
Mm.
noticed that I'd really never seen how much it changed or how different the night felt,
Wow.
sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something I did for a week. I did for a day looking at what happened with the clouds. I've
Mm-hmm.
done, um, I wanted to learn how to paint better, and there's a lot of colors in the sunset. And so
Mm-hmm.
the sunset, people think of sunset, about watching the sun go down, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's about the changes in the sky and the
Mm-hmm.
changes in how the colors around you change. And so you don't need to be near the sky. You just need to be
Yeah.
go out and look up and
Mm-hmm.
see, the colors against a tree. Or so I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be by the ocean, although I like that. Um,
Yeah.
and so that's another project you can do.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Those are all great. Do you have any like favorite nature journal pages that you could share? Some cool pages that or pages where you had like really fun making them?
Terrible page. And it's not even nature journaling, but you will remember. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
this was one of my early drawings, and I went out to eat, and we went to a restaurant, and we got dessert. And so
Mm-hmm.
the dessert was kind of the thing. Well,
Yeah.
this has lost a lot of meaning because I don't know where we went. So that's the
Mm.
where. I don't have a date. So I don't know
Interesting.
when I went, and I don't we don't usually get dessert. So why did we get dessert?
Uh-huh.
So this is like you always forget to put in that metadata, and here is this
Yeah.
really cool picture. And then the last thing is I do remember this. So I painted it and I put some vanilla ice cream in. At that
Yeah.
point in time, I didn't know how to paint white. So it
Uh,
was this empty spot. So I thought, well, let me try to outline it. So I
yeah.
outlined it, and then it was a ball. And then
Uh,
I thought, ooh, well, maybe I'll just make it raspberry ice cream. And so I
uh,
made it red, and then it was just a red ball. So then
uh,
I painted over, and here was this memory that's actually, later. It's really cool and it's kind of funny, but I
yeah.
painted it over. And so that's where I think this is a nature journal. It's not a
Yeah.
painting. And so this is about that moment in time.
Uh-huh.
And so that's one of the, that's why you're doing nature journaling, is so that you can really remember.
Yeah.
And so these were all of the don'ts. So I saved this
Uh,
so that I could show it to you as like as and that's your metadata and that's your memory. So if something you
yeah.
don't like, that's part of the story.
So you don't believe in there's some people, not necessarily in nature journaling so much, but in other types of journaling, there's some people who like burn their old journals or things like that. Like you don't, or rip them out and crumple them up. Like you're not into doing that.
um I think so. I used to keep, until I said I was going to talk with you. I kept all of them. I have one drawer where I put my art supply stuff,
Hmm.
and that's where all the old journals live. And I knew I wanted to keep them, but then because I knew I was talking to you, I went through my old journals to look
Ooh.
at, and to decide what I wanted to do. And then I'm looking through, and these were all memories. I mean, it was,
Mm.
of the first time that I drew the Inca turns, or
Mm.
and so these are really, because you said, oh, if the fires come, I've got my
Yeah.
journals. And I thought, well, I've got pictures of everything. But then when I went through my journals, I was like, no, these things are
Yeah.
precious. And so now I
Absolutely.
think I need a shelf. We don't have a whole lot of space
Yeah.
in our little condo, and so, but I'm like, we're gonna get rid of some of the books so my journals can be sitting out so I can look through them, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of good ideas in there. There's stuff I forget, and yeah.
It's amazing to look back at them. Like I have a shelf back there, and yeah, it's just really amazing to be able to look at. Like I could go find I've done the Inca turns. Isn't that the same one? That are the toucans in that one, and the
Yep.
cock of the rock
Yeah,
also?
the Incas have the kind of mustache.
Yeah, and they're
That's
always
really
kind
cute.
of up. When I've been there, they're always kind of up behind this, like right at the entrance. They're kind of like
Hmm.
hiding up
And
there.
they're really easy to see. Yeah, they're.
Yeah, they're cool, super cool. We had some terns, I think common terns, out at the bay yesterday. I saw them. I didn't get to nature journal them, but they're really cool. So that could you share some of your those favorite pages or other
Oh, sure,
from
sure,
other
sure,
journals
sure.
that you really liked?
Um, all right, I'm gonna show you. I just randomly opened a page, but I think if I can show people what you can do. So this was, we
Hmm.
took a trip to Kansas. And so, I drew the map and then I just drew this on the way. And so
Yeah.
as we were driving, we went through Temecula, we went
Hmm.
through Baker and
Hmm.
Colorado, and these were just done with colored pencils, and
Hmm.
it was just done in the car.
While you're moving, huh?
Yeah, why not?
Dang, dang. I can't
And
do
it's
that.
colored pencil, not paint. So you're not. It's
Right.
watercolor pencil. I really love
Hmm.
watercolor. And let's see. Oh, there's just so many good memories. And so, and sometimes it's not, it's just about the memories. So I
Hmm.
went, this was Roseanne Hanson's. Oh, I really want to talk about this.
Yeah.
So the butterflies. So the
Hmm.
monarch butterflies, I wanted to learn how to draw them. And I asked Jack because there's a house down my street that just has them, and it's the house where the butterflies live.
Hmm.
Um, so I asked Jack, and he said, "Oh, it's really sad what's happening to the monarchs." And I
Hmm.
thought, they live just down the street. There's tons of them. They're
Hmm.
doing fine. And then I went online and I looked, and the butterflies aren't doing fine. They're doing horribly.
Hmm.
So like 95% of them have disappeared. Their numbers have just really tanked. And
Yeah.
so I got really concerned. So what I did was, um, oh, here it is. So, okay, first I tried to just post on Facebook. And if you just put a link on Facebook, nobody sees it.
Right.
So what I did was, I did a page like this, and then I pretty much littered any Facebook group that I was in. I was like, oh, have you seen my article? And
Hmm.
oh, here's my journal page that I worked on. So
Yeah.
I put it out there and had all these just wonderful conversations about monarchs.
Hmm.
And then I got in touch with Roseanne Hanson and I
Hmm.
said, it would be really neat to do a micro safari and
Mm.
go look at the milkweed. And so, and she said, yeah, that's a great idea. So,
Mhm.
so we
Oh,
did.
I wish I could have done that one. That sounds awesome.
And you still can. It's on her
Oh,
website, so you can go look at the micro safari, which was a lot of fun. And so that was that. And then there's this really just shows community. So I think the next day or after that, I think it was the next day, but I was with Avea and we did pencil miles and
nice.
um, we looked at microscopic stuff.
Hmm.
So with Chennai, she brought out her microscope
Mm.
and we looked at stuff. And then during pencil miles, Ivea pulled apart a sunflower, and
Mm.
she was showing me how it's not a flower; it's a bunch of
Mm.
flowers, which still pretty much explodes my mind. But
Yeah.
there's these are pictures. These are
Yeah.
not good pictures, but these are all memories.
Yeah.
And it was a part of my day, and it was things that we did, and so that's nature journaling.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. I love that page, and I think Jack would be very, very proud to hear how there was that whole cycle with, your nature journaling interest led you to learn about the plight of this organism, and care about the conservation of it, and then to communicate that with more people, you use nature journaling as the communication tool as well. So I think that really because his his goal is to promote care and love and concern about the natural world through nature journaling. So I think that's really cool to hear that story about the monarchs. That's great. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Oh, yes.
Okay. First question. If you were going to nature journal on a desert island, and be stuck there for a year, what nature journaling supplies would you bring? You only have five supplies.
Easy.
Okay.
So first I would need my bag. And then I would need, so that's going to be one. I need a sketchbook.
Okay.
And then, so that's two. I need a water brush. My paints. And
which paints are you using?
That's one of the other things people talk about, and on the Nature Journal site, people get caught up about you gotta have this perfect palette or this certain thing. This is just a little box of Cotman paints. So it started off as Cotman, and then as I used up stuff, I replaced it with the colors that I wanted, and so I do use Daniel Smith paints. If you're not using great paper, then it probably doesn't matter. If you are, then a lot of times people on my paintings go, wow, the colors on that are so amazing. And I think that's Daniel Smith, not me. But, if you're not using really good paper, it doesn't matter so much. So the only thing is some of them aren't light fast. So it's okay, maybe because it's in a journal, but Cotman paints are fine. One of my favorite artists, Lona Powell, who's on Facebook, and she does a daily journal. She just uses a Cotman kit, and you can do. My Asian art teacher, she sometimes teaches us on praying because not all of her students can afford expensive stuff. So the water brush, the paints, and then I know it's sitting around here. I am usually never without my trusty Bic pencil.
Nice.
And so it's not anything fancy, it's just Bic, and I am just used to, I write tons of notes, and they're always and it's what you're used to. I also I have fountain pens and that kind of stuff, but push comes to shove, I only get 5 things. I want my Bic.
All right, I think you're going to do well on that desert island. Okay, next question. Would you rather nature journal with the mind of a 9-year-old or the mind of a 99-year-old?
9-year-old.
A 9-year-old? Okay, why?
I have a lot of energy, and I tend to bounce around a lot anyway. So I think the eyes of a child, the questioning, kids, their questions. So I volunteer, and so I love talking about gray whales, and the kids always have the best questions. When they ask a question, I'm like, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
So definitely 9-year-old.
Okay. If you could nature journal in Hawaii or the Rocky Mountains, which one would you choose?
Hawaii.
Okay. Would you rather have watercolor or colored pencils?
Definitely watercolor.
Okay. And what is your favorite sketchbook? All right, and your final question for the lightning round is, if you could have a nature journaling superpower, what would it be?
Oh, I know exactly. I want to go underwater. I want to go, but where it's not cold and I don't get like yucky feeling or sticky. And so I can just breathe underwater, and there's so many things that happen under there. That when I go whale watching, I see this much of just what's on the water, and only for they live 90% of their lives. What happens under there?
So would you want, how would that work? Would you just be like Aqua Woman and you can just swim everywhere, or would you be inside of a bubble, or would you have some machine, or?
I don't know. I get the impression those subs you go down in are not the most comfortable. So maybe I like my comfort. So I think I just have my little bubble, and
cool.
Maybe just be able to zoom around, and
Awesome. That is such a great one. Okay, good job in the lightning round. So I just have a few more questions to wrap up here. And I think that this video is going to be really helpful for people who are just getting started with nature journaling. You have so many good ideas and so much encouragement. And the fact that, you only started doing art just last year. It hasn't even been a full year. I think that's really great because it's one thing when people who have been nature journaling for 10 years are like, it's easy to start, but it's another thing hearing it from you. So I really appreciate that. So just a couple other questions for newbies and beginners is, what would you say is are some like philosophical tips or like mindset tips that you would give people to help them when they're getting started?
Breathe. So when you go out and you get ready to start doing something, this is something I learned in my Asian art class. Before we ever take a stroke, the teacher will say, take a deep breath. And then
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, cool. I was not expecting that. Okay, and then what about and you gave some ideas about this already, but any other last words about how to make it a habit when you're getting started?
I think it goes back to your mindset. Like I look at my journaling time as something that is precious, and my journal is something that's just for me. And
Mhm,
so it's something that to me I just treasure. I mean, it's like a bubble bath. So it's something that I do
mhm,
for myself.
mhm,
So I think that's one thing. And the other thing is just you fit it in,
mhm,
however it works. In fact, you can do those 5 things I told you, they fit in little cases that are way smaller than this, and
mhm,
put it in your purse. And I've painted at the dentist, at the airport.
Wow.
You can paint anywhere. And I
Mhm,
journal as a part of my life because I want to reflect, and I want those memories. And you
mhm,
can take a picture, but I have another journal article somewhere. Anyway, I have one where we went out and we went on a hike, and I sat down on a rock and I painted it. And it's a horrible painting because it was way early in my painting career,
mhm,
but it shows the fall colors and it shows my excitement of being out there. And I
mhm,
wrote some notes about the things that happened, and that means so much more than a painting.
mhm.
Because as I go
Yeah.
back and look through my journals, that's important. That's stuff that
Mhm,
memories that I had lost. And so I think you're just investing in yourself. And so
mhm,
it's whatever moments of the day you can fit in.
mhm.
There's one. It's in my recent one. And I was just gonna show as how you journal your day. It's not this one. Um, oh yeah, I flip right to it. So, this was my day. We went snorkeling, and then we had a pastry, and then I took a nap, and then it was a class with Jack, and then I painted sunsets. And so it doesn't have to be little bits.
Mhm,
And so that was just, little paintings of the day, or, the right next to it, it was, I painted, I'm still horrible with this, but this was, the sun was dying. I had literally less than 5 minutes, and I painted
mhm.
Point Loma.
Yeah.
So the colors are horrible, but their colors were
Mhm,
horrible because I couldn't see what I
mhm,
was painting on that. And so those are just moments of the day, and you paint them or you color them, or I
mhm,
also have um, just a little set of 12 colored watercolor pencils. So
mhm.
you just are quickly doodling, and that's all you need. And you do a bunch of it, and it makes a whole page.
Wow, that is so cool. And once again, you make it seem really, really easy. So my final question, and you mentioned some of this earlier, but just kind of wrapping up and um, summarizing for beginners is like, what do you think is the hardest thing that most beginners are going to have to encounter when they're getting started, and how would you recommend they prepare themselves for that?
I think I really I like the art, and I like being outside, but it's not an easy thing to just go out and sit down and in the sand or on a bench or whatever and draw. And so that's, I think, if you do there's like a line of action is a place you can go, and it'll flash up pictures, and you get 2 minutes or something
Mhm,
to quickly draw something. So I think learning and being comfortable with something flashes up and you draw it, then that kind of gets you for when you go and sit down. draw the first thing that's in front of you. Sometimes the hardest thing is figuring out what you're going to do. But if
Mm,
you already have that where you're used to doing,
mm,
then you can just do a warm up, or you can do. So that's one thing. Another is sometimes you're not able to draw, and so if you're not able or you're not there yet, that's fine. There are no rules to nature journaling. It seems like we come up with all of these rules. There's no rules. You do whatever works for you, and it seems like our community is very weighted towards art, and I'm definitely loving the art. That was why I came. But if you're a writer or if you do poetry, or there's no rules, so you do whatever works for you. The rules of nature journaling or what's good for you, what connects you to nature, and that's it. Period. In stop.
mhm,
So this idea that you have to do this or you need to do that, you do what you want to do.
mhm. Cool. Wow. I think that's such a eloquent way to wrap up this conversation and provide so much value and motivation, inspiration for people getting started. Yeah, I can't thank you enough. I mean, it's definitely like these are ideas that I've thought about a lot, spent a lot of time thinking about, but I definitely wouldn't have been able to think of a lot of these that you've mentioned, and so I really appreciate that. Is there anything else you want to say to people who are out there who are considering starting?
Um, just start, and then I would say for people who are in the nature journal community, give back.
Mm,
If you want to keep going with this and you want this to be something that really enriches your life, what can you do to help others, and what can you do to the nature journal community is such a strong place, and it's such a there's so many giving people. And thank you to all of the people who have, like Christine Elder, 50 different times she stood up and her smiling face got me
mhm,
through a lot of weeks. And so just really thank you. And for people who aren't, start. It really, I've been volunteering for years, and that's just something I want to be able to teach people the joys of the world and the wonders of the world, and that's something that we as nature journalists can do. And you don't need anything special. If you don't know the answer, that's fine. You're just like, oh, that's cool. I don't know. Why do you think that? For people who are starting, just start. Do what feels right for you. And people who are nature journaling and they're good, then take it a little step further, and it's so much deeper.
mm. Wow, cool. Thank you so much, Heather. Thanks for being on the show.